Hello and welcome back to Transfer Review. This week with me, Henry, and Mikey McCubbin. Mikey, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Henry. Not too bad, thanks. How about you?
No, I'm well. I mean, listen, considering we're filming a transfer show, the show where we look back at all the biggest news and stories hitting the transfer market at the moment, I think this is quite a good morning for it because we've seen, looks like Newcastle going back in for Sven Botman for about £40 million, according to David Ornstein. I mean, what do you make of that one?
Yeah, I mean it's been talked about a lot, doesn't it? But this seems a bit more concrete now. I've seen people saying that Botman might be ready to reject AC Milan for Newcastle, and who knows, this could be something that maybe has even gone through by Saturday if things go quickly. But yeah, I think he's a really exciting signing for a club like Newcastle. I think his level is above, or far above where Newcastle are at right now. Let's not forget this is a Champions League level defender who won Ligue 1 as part of the strongest defence in all of Europe last year. So yeah, super exciting. I don't quite get the logic from Botman's end of things. Like, this is a move that doesn't have guarantees. Also, entering a back line which is pretty leaky to say the least. It's going to be quite a shock for him, I think, partnering, Lascelles, etc. after having been alongside Jose Fontes for a year. And I say that with the most respect possible. I think this is a move for him that could go two ways. I'm just a little bit worried that he might come in as a young defender into the Premier League, have one slightly bad game, will make one mistake and then be written off and have his confidence completely shot. But from a Newcastle perspective, I think he could be, he's a pretty exciting pickup. So yeah, it could go one or two ways basically. Yeah, I'm maybe not being so clear there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out for sure.
I completely agree with you, but rejecting AC Milan from Newcastle in this day and age, who would have thought? Let that sink in. Also, we've woken up to the news that Aston Villa have actually confirmed Philippe Coutinho'S loan move until the end of the season, which looks like an option to buy at the end of the year. I'm behind this move. Love that. If you want to hear our opinions on this a bit more, check out our latest Continental Club. And I think Joe's probably going to talk about it on We Need to Talk. Prioritise Continental Club, then go check out Joe afterwards. Anyway, we're here today to talk about Liverpool and Luis Diaz, because this is the transfer we like, McCubbin. A lot of rumours that Luis Diaz could be on his way to Liverpool, and a bit of a massive move.
Yeah, I mean, quite a big move by Liverpool standards over the last 3 years at least. Multiple reports over the last week have been talking about this move. Apparently the Reds have identified Porto winger Luis Diaz, also a Colombian international, as the perfect replacement for AFCON bound Mo Salah, or we must add Sadio Mane as well. According to these reports, Jurgen Klopp has been interested in the Colombian since last summer. Was actually set to move for him at the end of the season, but with both Salah and Mane away for January, apparently the club have decided they want to accelerate their plans to try and get him through the door. However, it will take quite a lot of money to do so. The 24-year-old is said to have a £67 million release clause in his contract. Liverpool are looking to pay slightly less for him at £60 million. That's still a big outlay on a forward. I mean, probably the biggest outlay they've made on a forward player in the Jurgen Klopp era, thinking about it now. This is a player that comes with a lot of hype, and he has been really good for Porto since signing in 2019. They got him for just £6 million, from a Colombian outfit Junior. He'd been set to join Zenit, but then James Rodriguez and Radamel Falcao, who obviously have their links with Porto, intervened to push him towards Portugal. In his first season was a slightly slow. He scored 14 times in 50 appearances, but last season stepped that up with 11 goals and 6 assists. Then was the top scorer at the Copa America alongside Lionel Messi as well. So had a really good 2021. And this term he's really taking another step up. 12 goals and 3 assists from just 15 Primera Liga appearances. Also scored twice in the Champions League. He looks more robust physically. I feel like he's kind of reaching his level now, and looks looks physically like a player who can make the step up to a bigger league. And yeah, of course, Jurgen Klopp got to witness him firsthand in the group stages, didn't he? Reportedly, he was very pleased with what he saw, clearly. But yeah, I mean, Henry, obviously, Luis Diaz is a very impressive player, been easily one of the best in Portugal this term. But what do you think about that price tag? £60 million, it's quite a lot to spend in January, isn't it?
That is a huge sum of money to pay for someone who's effectively coming in as a stopgap while first team players are away. And Sky Sports have been slightly hesitant to confirm whether or not how much truth there is in this report. Though a lot of people say that this could be one of Michael Edwards' finest kind of legacy moves as director of Liverpool. So I don't think there's any smoke without fire on this front. I feel as if there are probably conversations going on. But if we look at the player himself, his preferred position is on the left side of a front three, but he can play deeper in midfield, and this is what makes me think, okay, he could feasibly drop a bit deeper, because if we look at Liverpool this season, Sadio Mane has almost exclusively played out on the left for them this term, and Diogo Jota has also pushed out left on occasions too this season. I can't see someone like Luis Diaz coming in and jumping ahead of them straight away, irrelevant of the price tag that he potentially could arrive with. But his stats are very, very strong, certainly compared to those two as well. They all roughly take about 3.3 shots per 90. Jota slightly higher at 3.4. Even though, and this is where Diaz looks pretty exceptional. He's got a really good accuracy rate at 43.5% of his efforts hitting the targets. Not even Salah can better his 0.6 goals per shot on target. It's important to remember these statistics that they're obviously playing in different leagues. Liverpool in the Premier League and Porto out in Portugal, so it's not necessarily fair to compare statistics too closely, but if he's finding the target of his efforts, that shows a player really confident at the top of his game, doesn't he? He's got an excellent pass accuracy, 80%, takes 1.9 key passes per 90, that's more than Jota and Mane, and he's completing 2.5 dribbles a game at the moment. Obviously, Porto probably being allowed more space, but that's a whole dribble more than Mane and double what Jota is producing. And he's 5 years the junior of Mane as well. So maybe if they are looking at him, this could be a long-term replacement to Mane out on the wing. There's a lot of conversations that, are they going to extend all three of the strikers' deals at the moment? What's going to happen with Bobby Firmino in the near future? It looks like Salah is the priority to get his contract extended. It might not be a bad idea to be eyeing up future replacements such as Diaz. Another reason to maybe throw a bit of scorn on this move, Pep Lijnders, the sort of Klopp's assistant at Liverpool, he after the Chelsea draw, he seemed to imply that they were happy with the squad they had at their disposal and that players coming back, so they weren't too worried about the AFCON losses. Apparently, Lijnders told all the players going out to the African Cup of Nations that not to come back unless they'd won the competition, which I think is quite refreshing to hear that, certainly from sort of top level coaches. And we'll see as well. There's also conversations that Divock Origi might be on his way to Lazio, which I'm not sure they'd be making that move either. So yeah, listen, Luis Diaz looks like a really exciting player. I think in the long term, this is the kind of person that Liverpool should be targeting. But £60 million does seem like a big fee for him, doesn't it? We will see. What's your likelihood, do you reckon, McCubbin, of this move actually going ahead?
It would certainly be a surprise, wouldn't it? But like you say, you mentioned Michael Edwards there. He's obviously off in the summer. I think he's quite keen to make one or two final kind of, or get kind of one or two gifts for Klopp. I know he's quite keen to get Jude Bellingham, or at least he's reportedly keen to get Jude Bellingham kind of done. So, I could, maybe we will be surprised this January with Liverpool's business. Obviously, they haven't really made that many big signings over the last 2-3 years. So they are overdue it. Salah, Mane are both, 29. So, there does need to be a refresh at some point. And Luis Diaz is quite exciting. He's particularly good at cutting in on the edge of the box and finishing. His finishing ability, like you said, is really good. And speaking of kind of Coutinho earlier, reminded me a little bit of him in some senses. But not in terms of his all-round play, but just that particular particular skill. But yeah, so I think, I don't know, he could be a really exciting signing. But like you say, 60 million in January, quite a lot of money. But I feel like, we might see some surprises from Liverpool over the next few months in the transfer market.
All right, there we go. Porto fans, is Luis Diaz ready for the Premier League? And for Liverpool, let us know in the comments down below. And let's move on to the transfer we don't like.
We're going over to Italy now for the transfer that we don't like, and a certain striker could be returning to Serie A, Henry. It's Krzysztof Piatek to Fiorentina. What do you make of this?
Yeah, weird one, isn't it? Not sure about this at all. This comes from Sky Italia's Gianluca Di Marzio. Lovely man. Met him the other day for one of our transfer preview specials, which you can check out on Eurofootball Daily. Anyway, he's revealed that Fiorentina are set to sign Hertha Berlin striker Krzysztof Piatek after an agreement was reached over a 15 million euro fee. Personal terms all wrapped up as well. And a bit of a funny one, because it had looked like he was about to go to Genoa. They were going to re-sign the Polish striker on loan with a 17 million euro option to buy, but Fiorentina have clearly stolen a march on Il Grifino, who are not having a great season at all, are they? But even at 15 million euros, it's amazing to see Piatek still commanding a fairly moderate price tag after a pretty bleak 2.5 years in his career. I mean, let's not forget, he did explode onto the scene in 2018-19. He scored 13 times and 19 appearances for Genoa after moving over from Poland. Then he netted 9 for the remainder of the season for AC Milan after securing that 30 million euro move. It was after just 6 months with Genoa. But then in 2019-20, he scored just 4 for the Rossoneri before moving in January to Hertha. And then 4 goals and 1 assist. For some reason, convinced the German outfit to make that deal permanent for 24 million euros. This is when they were in a bit of a gun-ho period, wasn't it? And ever since, he's only scored 8 times for the club in the Bully from 41 appearances. He's got just 1 goal this term. Stefan Jovetic is ahead of him on 5 for Hertha. So he's clearly had his confidence knocked. Arguably one of these strikers that just had 1 incredible season and has never really been able to live up to those standards again. His numbers are all down. He's yet to register a single key pass in the current campaign. He's managed just 5 shots on target from 350 minutes of league action. A lot of those are coming as substitute appearances, so it's not always easy to impose yourself on a game. That's still not really good enough for a striker that, when all said and done, he'll have commanded about 70 million euros of transfer fees relatively early on, sort of midway in his career. So it's an interesting one. What makes this move worse, though, for me, McCubbin, is the fact that it looks like he might be. It looks like Fiorentina have sounded him out as a replacement for Dusan Vlahovic, and it's not a like-for-like replacement, is it? It's in my opinion, at present, it is clearly a downturn, but it does seem to imply that Vlahovic might be leaving Fiorentina earlier than we predicted.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Fiorentina have done quite a good job until now of effectively pricing Vlahovic out of a move. But he himself hasn't ruled out leaving this January. He told the press this week that a beautiful story is being made here in Florence. My wish is to bring Fiorentina to Europe because we have been good in Europe for a long time. However, on the other hand, he's also kind of thrown a bit of doubt on that. He says, I don't know what can happen overnight. We'll see. So I think he's kind of playing it a bit safe in that sense, leaving his options open, but obviously not wanting to get on the wrong side of the La Viola faithful. But yeah, like you said, Piatek not a like-for-like replacement. Obviously, Fiorentina will be losing, the majority of their goal scoring with Vlahovic leaving, and Piatek, even when he was in Italy, actually, even though he was on fire in that 2018-19 season, was doing so, with, he was on a real hot streak that season. I think his finishing was particularly good. Wasn't necessarily in the best positions all the time. And, it was kind of as AC Milan were coming out of a period of quite poor recruitment as well. So really, in another season, he may well have stayed at Genoa and his productivity may well have fallen off the following season or whatever. He may not be in the position he is now. But having said that, coming back to Italy might might reinvigorate him. And this Fiorentina team are not just Vlahovic, are they? Like, they are a pretty decent unit overall. But as for Vlahovic, Arsenal are not giving up on him. Recent reports are claiming that they've submitted a £46 million plus Luca Torreira bid for an immediate transfer. And CBS are also saying that Fiorentina are content to assess other offers for the 21-year-old. Obviously, Luca Torreira has been a bit of an asset to Fiorentina this season, but I still feel like that offer probably falls a bit short for them, and certainly doesn't give them the kind of money to go out and get a top striker in Europe. Having said that, Fiorentina are not necessarily the kind of club who could attract a top European striker anyway. So I can kind of see the logic behind Piatek, especially at that price. I know you say that he has his value has diminished, but I still think 15 million euros for a striker who can hit double figures in a Serie A season is not bad. I think the worry is that they will be relying on him for goals up top, and obviously he doesn't have anywhere near the kind of productivity that we've seen from Vlahovic over the last 12 months at least. He's also 5 years older than the Serbian. His shots are quite a bit down on him, etc. etc. It's a little bit of a risk, I guess, in terms of if they're trying to replace him, especially if they're replacing him this January. But I think probably what Fiorentina will be hoping is that he can kind of come in as a bit of a backup to him, get familiar, and then they can go out and find a better replacement for Vlahovic in the summer, or at least have Piatek having bedded himself in there by the time he leaves. But I don't know what you think about this, Henry. Do you think there's anyone better out there?
Yeah, it's going to be a long old month for Fiorentina and Vlahovic, isn't it? I mean, they'll be wanting that window to shut as soon as possible, in terms of whether or not he's going to go or not. I thought someone like Borja Mayoral, who's really suffering at Roma this season under Mourinho, I thought that would be... It's difficult to replace someone quite like Vlahovic because he's so big and such a presence. There's not a ton of strikers like that out there at the moment. But I think someone like Borja Mayoral would have been an interesting move. Even Gianluca Scamacca or Raspadori from Sassuolo, if they were maybe looking to sell again. These are the kind of players I think would be slightly better options at the moment than Piatek. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe in the short term, it's not a bad move to get someone through the door who is certainly used to the league anyway. But it's just so difficult for La Viola. They've got kind of a rare gem to emerge through their system, and it's always going to be tough to try and replicate that. I hope maybe he stays true to his words and can sort of see them through to a European campaign next season, because that would be an awesome return under Vincenzo Italiano, and I think quite a nice story for Italian football too. Anyway, guys, at home, let us know, do you think Dusan Vlahovic is actually going to move to the likes of Arsenal this season? And is Piatek, are we wrong to write him off at this moment in time? Get in the comments down below. Mikey, anything else to push to for our audience at the moment?
Go and check out yesterday's Continental Club. Like you said, we discussed kind of weird transfers this season, or this January, including Coutinho'S move to Aston Villa. We recorded it before it was confirmed, but if you want to hear our take on how he would perhaps fit in, the potential problems, and the potential upsides as well to Coutinho at Villa Park, go and check that out.
Lovely stuff. All right, thank you for watching. Make sure you liked and subscribe to Euro Football Daily, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.